Hello friends, once again welcome to the session on Marxism. So it's quite many days since we did not have the session or lecture on Marxism. All the same, we'll continue in the introductory or first session, first lecture. We saw how do we go about the course on Marxism. Then I have introduced to you the life and works of Marxism. Now we move on to the next section, that is the socio-political influence on Marx and what is his intellectual background. What influenced Marx to come out with a new theory of praxis, new theory of revolution. That's the topic for us today. So socio-political influence on Marx. The 19th century was known for industrial revolution. It was known for accelerated technological growth, advancement. The industrialization in Europe, especially in England and Germany, gave rise to a new social situation of class system. In this class system, Marx saw the manipulation or exploitation of haves and have-nots, rich and the poor. The working class was working for low payments for long hours, and they were betrayed of education, basic facilities, art, literature, cultural and social activities. In other words, these lower class people or working class was treated like machines. Basically, during those times, the class system was bourgeois and the proletariat. Bourgeois means those who own the means of production. They were running the industries or the business, and the proletariat include the working class. They were selling their labor. So Marx saw this distinction and division and manipulation. So he wanted to come out with a new theory of praxis which proposed radical change. So Marx envisaged or had a vision of creating a new concept of history, new economics, which aimed at revolution and change, which brought about egalitarian society, a society with equality and right for all. So he proposed a society where proletariat will take over the ruling class, the bourgeois, and it is called as the communist society. In such a communist society, the free development of each is a condition for the free development of all. Everyone should have revolution, everyone will have their voice heard, and that is the revolution or the change in all, the progress or growth in all. This is the idea of socio-political influence of Marx. Then now we come to intellectual background which influenced Marx. First of all, Karl Marx was a voracious reader. He read hours together he spent in the library. For that matter, any philosopher who stuck to his bench or stuck to his table and a chair, hours together they read They reflected, then they wrote. Revolutions took place from their reading rooms, from the library. The library is the starting point of any kind of change, revolution, or new idea. This we should be clear for ourselves also. So the more we read, the more we reflect, discuss, exchange our views and ideas, the more deeper we grow, we come out with new and great ideas. So Marx's philosophy was a synthesis of and critical appropriation of classical German philosophy, French socialist ideas, English economics, and other some political movements. Marx constructed his political edifice, political structure on three streams, or basically he develops from three roots. He derives his philosophy from three roots. Which are those? First one is German idealism. His philosophy is mainly borrowed from German idealism. His sociology, social concept, is influenced from French socialism. And the economics which he proposed in his philosophy is borrowed or influenced by the British classical economists. To continue with our lecture, we will be dealing on German idealism. The first philosophical influence on Marx is German idealism. German idealism. So the great German idealists were Kant, Fichte, and Hegel. The prominent among them is G.W.F. Hegel. You see the year or period of Hegel. What is the philosophy of Hegel? Hegel said that history is the self-development of the spirit. History is the self-development of the spirit. Now what is the spirit means? Spirit means idea. Who spoke of idea in Western philosophy for the first time? Just to refresh your memory, it is Plato. Plato said the ideas are perfect and eternal. He spoke about another ideal world where the ideas, perfect ideas exist and they are eternal in comparison with the ideas of this world. Hegel said the ideas are imperfect and dynamic. They are changing. They are capable of perfection. So his famous maxim or the saying is, Hegel's saying is, whatever is rational is real and whatever is real is rational. In other words, only idea is real and that idea exists in the mind. That is practical and real and rational. This is the core of the philosophy of Hegel. For him, mind is the part of our nature and natural is nothing but the pure idea. Everything, including our experiences, is the ultimate idea. This idea contains history, and history is the process of absolute unfolding, unrevealing, and raveling of itself. Hegel speaks about evolution of human history, change in human history. He said, universal history is the story of self-development or self-unfolding of the spirit. I said, history is a process of development. He used the word Geist. In simple words, it means spirit. Spirit. Okay? Spirit or idea or reason or God, the ultimate thing. It is absolute, self-conscious, universal reason of the world. According to Hegel, this spirit is the first principle and only real reality. It is self-subsistent. It is self-subsistent. What do I mean by self-subsistent? That means it exists by itself. But it is not self-sufficient. That means it realizes the more possibilities and potentialities. It develops, it is dynamic, it changes. Now, what is the characters of this spirit? Now, I'm just showing the slides. Now we move on to what are the stages of these changes according to Hegel. First one is the spirit externalizes itself. Spirit is by itself. Now it externalizes because it is dynamic. It is constantly self-unfolding or self-development. It is history. So the spirit gets objectified into the physical nature and human history, into this world. Now what is externalized looks alien to the spirit itself. Spirit externalizes, objectifies itself, and through that objectification, the externalization becomes alien to the spirit. We can understand. It is like a mirror. The spirit is their original. It goes outside and sees its own image outside. Whenever it sees itself, that image looks alien to the original spirit. For example, dog looking at the mirror barks at it, or the bird looking at the mirror pecks at it, pricks at it, or tiger looking into the well jumps into it because it finds somebody else, somebody alien is there in the well. This is the externalization of the spirit, first step. Secondly, there is estrangement. There is alienation of the spirit. First externalization, next estrangement, alienation. And thirdly, there is sublation. Sublation means to remove. Since the spirit gets a new realization, the alienation or estrangement goes about. This is removed. Externalization is removed. It comes with a new realization. This process of externalization, alienation or estrangement and sublation is called technically by Hegel as thesis, antithesis and synthesis. These are the three steps. In other words, this is called, first is affirmation, second one is negation, third one is negation of the negation or reaffirmation. Affirmation, negation, reaffirmation. So this goes on. First there is thesis, as against thesis there is antithesis, and this thesis and antithesis are synthesized in the third step. And again in the next level, this synthesis becomes the thesis and there is antithesis and synthesis. This is a process, continuous process of human history according to Hegel. So for Hegel, human being equals self-consciousness. All estrangement or all alienation is nothing but alienation of self-consciousness of human persons. Therefore, human history is a history of progressive transcendence or evolution of consciousness. It is a march of the mind. It is a journey of the mind. It is the self-autobiography of the spirit. It is not constant, it is changing with new realizations. This is the idea of Hegel. Does Marx agree with this idea? Yes, Marx accepts this idea of Hegel, but with a difference. Marx rejected the mystical and idealistic nature of Hegel's work and philosophy. It is said Marx made Hegel to stand on his head. That means so far what Hegel thought was everything is in the head. Now Marx brings the head down. Marx makes the Hegel to stand on his head means for Marx everything is material. Everything is from this world. For Hegel, ideal is real. For Marx, material is real. He gave material basis to the philosophy of Hegel. Marx replaced the spirit, the idea, with the real understanding of nature, work and economics. It is not consciousness of human beings which determines their existence and being, but human beings determine the consciousness. It is vice versa. Hegel says it is consciousness determines the being of everything, but Marx says it is humans who determine the consciousness of everything. According to Marx, Hegel went wrong by asserting reality as mental, only made up of ideas. For Marx, ideal is material, matter. The world makes our ideas and not the ideas make the world. Idea of spirit is illusory, unreal and only material. The world is real for Marx. Now besides, I forget to scroll down. So just Marx converts Hegel's idealism into materialism. For Marx, ideal is real and material. Marx ideal is not real, only material world is real. Next, Marx, other than being influenced by Hegel, is also influenced by young Hegelians. Young Hegelians means the followers of Hegel. Who are those? They include David Strauss. What did he say? He said some parts of the gospel are merely a fiction. Bruno Bauer, he said Jesus himself is a fiction. Next, another important philosopher, follower of Hegel, Ludwig Feuerbach. He wrote important work by name The Essence of Christianity. Essence of Christianity. Now, what is the idea of Feuerbach? All these three have influenced Marx about his philosophy of religion, and especially Ludwig Feuerbach has influenced. Now, what is the idea of Feuerbach? Feuerbach spoke about the essence of religion. He said, all religion is an alienated self-expression of man. Religion is an alienation, in other words. Feuerbach considered human beings as the center of religion. The center and crux of religion is human beings. Therefore, for Feuerbach, theology is anthropology. God means human person. Religion means human person. Anthropology means study of human person. Therefore, theology is anthropology means God is man. God is nothing but man. This is the idea of Feuerbach. We have imagined a being that incorporates all qualities in the highest possible degree, and we call it as God. We have forgotten that these virtues, qualities are actually existing in us, not in God. God or the divinity is our imaginative projection of the attributes, powers that are in man. These powers are actually raised to the level of infinity, and we call it God. Not God, it is human being himself. We have created the idea of Great Spirit or God for our own longings and desires. In other words, for Feuerbach, God is a superman. So God is human creation. And he says particularly, Christian God is the reflection or image of human being. What's the biblical teaching? Biblical teaching says, we are nothing but the likeness and image of God. But Feuerbach says, God is nothing but the image and likeness of human persons. But what is the tragedy? Tragedy is man is being ruled and controlled and terrorized by his own creation called religion. Man is not able to realize his own power and potential. God or religion has become the obstacle for the full realization of our own self and essence. This is the teaching of Feuerbach on religion, God and human person. Now, how does Marx approach this teaching? So Marx agrees with Feuerbach and says religion is a product of misery, of material existence. We in our poverty and misery have discovered God or given God to those who are poor. Actually, religion is a primitive mind, and it has to be overcome by constant rationalization and reasoning power. Once reason increases, we can come out of the idea of God or illusion called God. Marx proclaimed that criticism of religion ends in the teaching that man is the highest being for man. God is not the highest being for man, but man is the highest being for man. Marx revisited Hegel's method of dialectic or history and Feuerbach's theory of human person or materialism. For Hegel, remember, spirit is the only reality, and for Marx, world or matter is the reality. Mind is the highest product of matter. Hegel said, history is the process of unfolding of the spirit. The philosophers can have only the hindsight. That means understanding of some event only after it has happened. Philosophers, according to Hegel, cannot have the foresight. That means the knowledge of what will happen in the future. For Feuerbach, idea of being is individual being, but Marx did not limit everything to the individual being, man, etc. Man is the projection of God, okay, or God is a projection of man. Those ideas, though Marx accepted, he said every individual is a member of social structure or social system or social group. Marx further said the job of philosophers is not to reflect the world as it is, but to change it. In his book called 11 Theses on Feuerbach, Marx wrote, hitherto, that means until now, the philosophers have been interpreting the world. The task, however, is to change it. Don't philosophize, don't give about the ideas of the world. The basic need and basic thing one has to achieve is to change this world. Actually, these words were inscribed in the tomb of Marx in a place called Highgate Cemetery. Marx disagreed with Feuerbach, saying that he is a crypto-idealist. That means actually he is for idealism, appearing himself to be, showing himself to be a materialist. He did not propose anything material or practical according to Marx. It is also said Feuerbach brought Hegel down to the earth and Marx made him to stand on his head on the earth. I explained this. Marx accepts the process and progress of human history not through mind but through a dialectical process. Dialectic process of material history. That means material history of human beings is constantly changing. That's why the theory influenced by Hegel, which has influenced Marx, is called dialectical materialism. Hegel thought here, everything he limited here, whereas Marx brought it down to our everyday experience, everyday life. Ultimately, for Marx, material conditions bring about freedom and liberation. Freedom and liberation. This is all about the influence of German idealism on the philosophy of Marx. Okay, that's all for now. Take care. Thank you.